Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. I am your host, Richie. On tonight's show, we're going to be hitting on the meltdown that was in Madison Square Garden in a game that the Knicks were so close to winning, in a series the Knicks were so close to closing. We're also going to hit on our grades for the NFC East based on what we saw in last week's draft, as well as how we see them shaping up. Yankees getting a big dub out in Baltimore. The rubber match of the 4-game series will be tomorrow. It's either going to be a tie or a 3-1 advantage for the Baltimore Orioles. With me tonight, my guy, Joe Gow. We haven't seen him in a minute. Good to see you here, brother.
Good to see you as well. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be under different circumstances.
Yeah, we all did.
Thanks for having me back. Let me just get this. All right, there we go.
It's all right. You stole one and we stole one. My man, Brett Bandick, Winter Haven, Florida, window 3.
It's good to be back, man. It's been a hot minute. Work's been crazy busy, family life, the whole shebang. But good to be on for a night, guys. Miss it.
Absolutely. Idris Salam, my Knicks brother in arms. He's rocking the Jeremy Lin. I got the Patrick Ewing. And we are going to get into it in just a moment. Enjoy the intro, and we will be right back. My God, Knicks. Why do you have to win a series and win 5 games to do it? We'll be right back. All right, we are back, and we are going to start it up in the NBA. Very intense series that, I'll be honest, brings back certain memories of the NBA's golden era of the 90s in terms of the physicality that we've seen. And a couple of the haymakers thrown down low by both teams. This has been a very physical series.
There he is.
There he is, San Antonio's best, Mike Zappi, in the house.
My favorite brother in LeBronian hate.
Yeah. Those two have a sincere solidarity on that metric. Zap, you came just in time. Knicks collapse in front of the home faithful. Can this loss turn fatal? Fatal, of course, meaning the end of the series, not literal death, although there will be a few on the watch that you have to keep an eye on. This guy here. First and foremost, I've got to give absolute respect to what Maxey was able to pull under maximum duress late in the game, a couple of circuit shots. And I must admit, it was more than just a guy making some terrific shots. There was some legitimate mental breakdowns that occurred to allow that to happen. And I'm not talking about, missing free throws. That's been an issue with certain players on the Knicks with putting games away, not just in these early playoffs. I'm talking about at the end of the regular season, but I'm talking about basketball acumen, doing the next right thing, doing the next smart thing. I want to know why we aren't fouling and playing the free throw game. A guy can't shoot a three-pointer from the free throw line. And just certain things. I remember in the Chicago game during the season finale, inbound passes. That's been a nightmare in this series too. And, I'm sure Joe would agree in this regard. The Sixers have had their own issues in the integral minutes of games. We stole one from them. They stole one from us. And I'll tell you what, in Wells Fargo, it's going to be a war tomorrow. Joe, you are the resident guest here, Philadelphia. Sixers fan. What are your thoughts on all of this, sir?
Well, first off, I don't know what happened to offensive rebounding, but the Sixers have been god awful at rebounding in general, right? But I'm talking about defensively. I've never seen. And I would love to know how many offensive rebounds the Knicks have in the last 5 minutes of each game.
Well, we have
of
killed
the
you on the
series.
glass, and I mean the biggest culprit and the biggest killer in that regard has been Josh Hart. I mean, to a level, that's part of the
Yeah.
reason why I could forgive some of his offensive inadequacies because, in the summer, when this season is over, I need that guy to work on his free throws and his mid-range jump shot. But he has made some big shots. It's just so frustrating when you're trying to put a game away. And I'm sure you could relate because, we're talking about game 3 game 4 in Philly, where the Knicks defense really made Embiid a non-factor in the fourth, but we still couldn't put it away until Jalen Brunson basically had to fake out the cameraman and put it away.
Yeah, it's been really hard to watch Embiid because, how much Embiid cares. I mean, you hear his press conferences. That guy leaves everything on the court every night. I mean, he arguably, and obviously, I love AI, so Iverson's at the top of the pinnacle, but he's up there for having the most heart of any Philadelphia athlete I've ever watched play. And last night, I was just, he can't jump, right? He can barely get down the court. The irony, this is a bit of a tangent, but the irony of watching that Bucks game right after the end of that game and seeing Giannis and Lillard sitting on the bench when Embiid is out there with basically two non-functioning knees and playing. I mean, I think he had 49, 50 minutes last night on two non-functioning knees. Yeah. It's just, it's sad to watch it, I love Embiid, and the Knicks have been so good on the offensive glass that it just makes it so worse to watch,
Well, I'll tell you the truth. I wanted your opinion on this. There's been a lot of controversy, and you'll hear two different themes from two different fan bases. While I do have an empathy for any athlete that is playing through that kind of pain, one thing that legitimately pissed me off is that I do feel – I'm not talking about smacking Jalen Brunson's head. To me, that's just playoff basketball. Yeah. I'm talking about, the Mitch Robinson play did not sit right with me.
No, pulling him down.
Yeah, that did not sit right with me. And, I understand that the playoffs are a different animal. And, we saw it at the height during the Detroit Pistons, Chicago Bulls rivalries, Knicks, Pacers, Heat, Knicks, name your best Philly team in the 80s. We saw this brand of basketball with the Celtics, the Pistons, on and on and on. But it's not about the physicality that I take issue with. I'm talking about potentially going out and hurting a guy. And all I hear is these announcers say, oh, we can't tell intent. I'm like, I don't know. Do you have a pair of eyes?
Yeah, there's definitely been. I mean, but, there's been some dirty play going both ways. I don't think that I'm with you on that. But, he did throw Oubre to the ground, a little bit prior to that. So, I mean, I'm not condoning it either way. But you're right. Doing it with the intent to hurt someone. I mean, the Brunson thing, I got to be honest. I watched that a couple of times. I mean, and this is coming from me, right? I don't think he needed to smack Brunson in the face. Now, I loved every minute of it, but I wouldn't say he should do that. And look, it's Jalen Brunson. I have an utter disdain for Jalen Brunson. I went to Temple. I'm a Temple University guy. He was committed to Temple, and then he decommitted and went to Villanova. So Jalen Brunson, I don't care what team he's on, but still, it's.
You literally just gave me the hashtag. If we win with a buzzer beater tomorrow, I'm going to call it Jalen Brunson for the Temple of Doom. Mr. Bandit, Mr. Zappy, Mr. Salam, what are your thoughts on this series right now? I'm going to start with you, Bretsky.
Yeah, no, I think this series is going 7. They're going back to Philly. It is what it is. I think it's going to go 7. It's going to be Game 7 at Madison Square Garden. I mean, what NBA fan wouldn't want that?
Knicks fans.
I mean, come on, man. No, I think, Rich. I think the biggest hurt for you was your season-ending injury there.
Randall.
You're talking about Randall or Bogdanovich? You're talking about Randall?
Bogdanovich. Well, Randall. I mean, Randall. We knew he was going. He was hurting.
We already knew what it was going in, but Bogdanovich is a big loss, dude.
Bogdanovich is. I like watching that guy play, man. That's a big hurt for you guys. You know what I mean? But it's going to go 7. I'm still going to take the Knicks in this matchup. I don't know how much longer Embiid can last on those 2 knees. God bless him. I think he's an absolute beast playing like that. I give him all the credit. But I don't know if he can last all the way through Game 7 and if he does make it past Game 7, then I don't see him making it past the second round with those knees, man.
It's just on the ref because when you're hurt and you're constantly standing up in one position, it can aggravate an injury. And the referees basically blow the whistle every time someone passes gas near Mr. Embiid. Mr. Zappi, your thoughts? Yes, I'm salty. I said it. It might not even be accurate, and that's okay.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like when he shoots a 3, it's not even a jump shot. He doesn't leave his toes.
No, there's no more jumping. It's a big individual. Sometimes I'm like, bro, he throws a lot of haymakers and with some of those little tic tacs. A foul is a foul is a foul, and I get it. Today's NBA makes it very clear what a foul is sometimes. But Mr. Zappi, your thoughts on this series, and do you think the Knicks are in trouble? Do you think Maxi's heroics are more than just holy shit? That was something.
Absolutely. The last thing you ever want to do is give a team that's down 3-1 new hope. And they got it, and it just so happens that they're going back to Philly. This is a bit alarming for the Knicks because I do feel the same as Brett. This series is going 7, but now we're talking about the Knicks suffering another injury to that lineup, and those are things that are going to come back and haunt the Knicks. I think the Knicks should be on high alert right now. Personally, they should have finished it in Game 5. Giving Philly new life is just not something you want to do, especially the way it happened with Maxey hitting that 3 at the buzzer to send it into overtime, and we saw the ultimate result from the game. But yeah, I want to see the Knicks win Game 6. Don't think they're going to, and I think Game 7 is going to be one of those games where if they're not playing on their P's and Q's, they might just have themselves a slip-up game where the Sixers are winning by 10 or more.
And where I literally am going to go to a very dark place. Mr. Salam, your thoughts on this before we move it along to key players in Game 6?
First of all, with Maxey, there's nothing we could do. The best thing with Maxey, we had to D him up. Like,
foul his ass.
You had to foul him because he wasn't going to miss anything beyond 3 last night. He was just lit. Embiid, you know how I feel about Embiid. I ain't no fan of him. However, I'm going to give him props to be on those 2 knees, and he played 40-plus minutes. But to see Giannis and Dame on the bench,
he's got to worry his heart.
I got to give Embiid them props. I don't like him, but I still got to give it to him because regardless of what him being on the court is a factor. You have to have him out there. You have to have Embiid out there.
Yep.
I think we shot ourselves in the foot. We missed the foul shot. Josh Hart to pretty much iced the game. We should have fouled Maxey when he came down the court. As soon as they took, we should have hacked him, put him on the line, make him shoot 2, or make him bounce 1 off the rim and try to get the rebound. Jalen Brunson with the jumper, and at the minute he shoots it over to the big Ragu who wasn't ready for it, and I wouldn't have been because he was. It was
actually Hartenstein.
Hartenstein, yeah.
But the point
was
going. You don't leave your feet.
Yeah, he was going for the rebound.
Yeah,
and he had to stop. Just a lot of bad mistakes we made, and Philly capitalized on it.
It was infuriating because I could take a loss, and I could take losing to a miracle shot or a couple of miracle shots. But when you just don't play smart basketball down the stretch and then you mix that with missing free throws, it's going to leave a bad taste. And now it's one of those deals where it's like, I'll give you two different scenarios. 1995, Reggie Miller game 1, the 8 seconds of hell.
Yeah.
Or you go the year before that, 1994, when the Knicks had to win a must game in Indy to force a game 7 in Madison Square Garden. This isn't forcing a game 7. This is closing the door. But the importance of winning that all-important game 6 on the road, very similar.
I think
to those both particular seasons. When I think about
Philly did what they're supposed to do. They said, "Hey, we're still in it. Let's keep with our game." I think we'll close it out in Philly, but if it comes back to New York, we're in trouble, man.
Rich, you mentioned these concerns before the playoffs even started. You know, the last 5-6 games of the regular season, you were not too happy with the last 2 minutes of decision making, closing out games. Like you already had this in your head going into playoffs, and it's happening again. So I mean, it's just they got to fix it, man. They got to fix it. The last 2-3 minutes of regulation, they had to play better, smart, fundamental ball. And they're not doing it.
And I'll be honest, I think Tom Thibodeau needs to trust Dante DiVincenzo just a little more.
Yeah.
I know that in Tibbs' eyes, he sees him from time to time as a defensive liability, but at the end of the day, you want as many guys that can drain an almighty shot from beyond the arc when it's most important. And when they're gonna come down on Brunson, and yes, Brunson had a boss game, but he did make some poor decisions that cost us. You want to be able to feel that Brunson could kick into somebody that's got the capability of making that ice water in the veins shot. And Dante DiVincenzo, in that regard, fits the bill.
Yeah.
Tibbs has to understand not every friggin' player on your team is going to be an all-world defender. Key players in Game 6. I'm going to play a little game with you guys. I'll start with you, Joe Gal. For your team, actually, or for both teams, if you want to mention it that way. The key here is not to mention the same players. See how long we could make this last. Okay, Joe, key player or two for your team, or even for the opposing team, for each team, if you want, however you want to approach this.
I'll give you a key player that you're probably not thinking, and you're probably going to laugh when I say this, but there's a guy on our team that makes a lot of money, doesn't do much. Tobias Harris, in my opinion, is the key player for Game 6 and Game 7. Yeah. I'm just going to say we win Game 6. Because Tobias needs to, last night when he hit those couple free throws to, really ice it, those were a few $1 million a shot. That's how important those free throws were. To ice that game, to do exactly what Josh Hart didn't do, and that's to just ice a game, take free points, right? Tobias needs to step up because Embiid is not healthy, Right, not healthy. And if the Knicks were remotely intelligent on defense, they would always be following Maxey around at the 3. Maxey had so many open looks from 3. That miracle shot at the end was amazing, but that wasn't even. I knew we were winning that game when he got fouled on that 3 for that 4-point play. I was like, we're winning this game. We're winning this game.
Update on Dallas and the Clippers. Dallas up 56-46 halftime. Harden 5 points. Paul George 7 points.
Big game James coming through again.
All
right.
Yeah, so that's my thing. I think Tobias needs to step up because we need somebody to help Maxey out, and it can't be Embiid, or we can't expect it to be Embiid for 50 minutes.
That's reasonable.
That's rest, man.
That's a good.
Embiid had what 2 minutes rest last night, 2 minutes maybe.
Yeah. No, that's a legitimately good point. Because, when you consider his salary and the fact that he hasn't been the biggest contributor, but yesterday, very huge shots that he had to make, and he certainly did. Brett, your key player or players that Joe Gal hasn't named yet?
I mean, for the Knicks, anyhow, I got to go Josh Hart, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's due for a big game, like a big game. You know what I mean? He has the touch, he has the shot to do it. He just has to do it. You know what I mean? Like it's just he's due for one of those, unforgettable playoff games. You know what I mean? Like Brunson's carrying the load. There's only so much that little man can do on the court. You know what I mean? So it's like it's Hart's time, man. He's got to shine. He's got to shine.
All right, I like it. Mr. Zappi, for either squad, key player for tomorrow night's game.
So with New York, I'm going to put it this way: you're getting a big man back tomorrow. I want to see Mitchell Robinson, what he can do for that team. He has given that team very valuable minutes. I mean, game 1 he gave him 30, game 2 he gave him 20 minutes, game 3 he gave him another 12 minutes there. So he is expected to be back tomorrow. I think he's someone that can have an impact on the game just by being on the court, because I think you guys are going to have to figure out a way to eliminate Joel Embiid, meaning you're going to have guys out there that are going to be probably hurting him because, like you guys said, he's hurt. Mm-hmm. And from Philly, I'm going to throw a shout out to Buddy Hield. I think he's going to make some big, be a guy that he can hit some big shots for Philly. And if there's ever a game, it'd be tomorrow. I could say Kyle Lowry, but I'm going to go with Buddy Hield.
Okay, I like the shout. Idris, Knicks and Philly, or whoever you want to name drop.
I'm gonna go both. For Philly, definitely Tobias Harris. You're getting paid that money. You can't put the ball in Maxi's hand expecting to win. MB is going to do what he can, and like I said, shouts out to him because he's running the floor the best he can. But he can do but so much. Buddy Hield got to step it up too. Lowry, I don't know what he's doing. For the Knicks,
don't question it. That guy loves to kill the Knicks.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. For the Knicks, definitely Josh Hart kind of break out, man. You got to do something. You got to take the load off of Jalen Brunson. Brunson just got to play smart towards the end of the game. Don't play hero ball. Play ball.
That's what pissed me off, and I don't agree with Stephen A. often, but I had no other choice.
And I think Hartenstein has to. I'm not Hartenstein. I mean, him too. But I think the big Ragu. I think Thibodeau needs to give Ragu some more playing time.
And in the fourth, you got to trust him, man. Yeah. You got to trust him because
he's a shooter, man.
That shot on the court.
He's a tall shooter. You got to let him. You got to get. We need it. We need points, man.
Yeah.
For the Knicks, I'll be honest. There's nobody that was named for Philly that I don't directly agree with. Can somebody have a boss ass game that you don't see coming, like maybe Batum or somebody? I mean, it's possible. But honestly,
maybe
I believe that the guys that were named already fit the bill for the guys that are going to be big for Philly. As my Knicks go, the usual suspects, the three Nova Cats. We already know about those guys. But thinking outside the box a little, I'm going Precious Achiuwa is going to be asked to step up in a big way tomorrow, as well as in a potential Game 7. We ain't going back to New York for a Game 7. We're going back to New York for a Game 1. And as far as the other player that I think has the ability to literally take over the fourth quarter and really surprise some folks tomorrow, OG Anunoby.
Yeah.
A guy that it's imperative to me that the New York Knicks re-sign in this coming offseason. We've got a comment coming in. Quan Watt. The Knicks gave that game up. They certainly did, sir, after the Sixers gave the game up. They did that too. Mm-hmm. This series going 7 in the Apple. The money is there. Yeah, I hate to say it, but I hope it doesn't, because there's too many variables that go unaccounted for when you talk about a potential Game 7. Mm-hmm. Final thing, boys, before we move it over to the NFL draft, give me your prediction for Game 6. Joe Gal, go ahead.
I think the Sixers are going to win it. I think it's going 7 games. I would love to see the Sixers win it by double digits so that Embiid could sit. I'd love to see them get out to a lead that they keep at home, keep the crowd in it, let Embiid rest, get B-Ball Paul out there, hell, get Mo Bamba out there. The biggest frustration that I've had watching this series is the guy you just mentioned. We had an opportunity to trade for OG, right? We could and we didn't do it. And it was OG, and it was a trade you made. I don't remember who you traded, but we got an OG and Precious, and I think it was going to be for Tobias, or that was, I don't know. But when I'm watching him tear us up, I'm just like, my God, he's got the wrong jersey on.
I'm glad because him, Maxie, and
tomorrow.
Oh my God.
Post game, this might be something we revisit. Brett, Idris, Zappy, who's winning tomorrow?
Knicks will win, close one again. I don't see a blowout. Yeah, that's it. I say it's gonna be close. But I have to give it Knicks maybe by. I'm going Knicks 4 points.
Zappy, Brett, who's winning tomorrow?
I got Philly winning this thing 116-112.
Okay, Mr. Zappy.
I've got Philly winning this one, but the Knicks will have a chance to win. I have the score 107-105. Brunson, final shot, miss. Final score 109-105. Sixers.
I've got Mr. DiVincenzo breaking the hearts of many again with a game-winning 3. 104-101 New York Knicks in regulation. We're moving it along to the NFC East draft takeaways. And I can honestly say, without really thinking too deeply into it, I believe that every team legitimately improved, or got needs that last year were obvious eyesores. We're going to start it with the Washington Commanders. I went in order for the first 3 rounds, and then I just kind of mixed them together later. Jaden Daniels, LSU, in my opinion, the best of the bunch in this quarterback class.
Mm-hmm.
What I really like about this guy, and I'm going to literally borrow what Zappy said. Zappy said it best to me multiple times on this show as well as off air. Zappy feels that this young man may very well be the next CJ Stroud of the newer year coming in.
LSU Tigers, baby.
Dan Quinn's a coach there now. From a free agency standpoint, I feel that getting a guy like a Austin Eckler, actually his versatility takes a lot of pressure off of a young Jaden Daniels coming into the league. I definitely like that. You still got Brian Robinson there.
Yep.
And this is a team that I know on my preview shows the last couple of seasons for the East, Zappy felt that this is a team that's not far. I think it's only a matter of time. New ownership. Snyder's finally gone. I actually think that Washington may very well be knocking on the door for a playoff berth this year. I really mean that.
I agree. Before I give my thing, Dallas 64, Clippers 50, big game James, 7 points, PG 13, 7 points, Westbrook 0.
Yikes.
Yeah, I feel the same way about Washington, man. I think they're close now. I'm an LSU fan. I'm so glad about Jaden Daniels. I think he'll have to put on some weight, but he got Eckler back there. He got Robinson back there. He got, Scary Terry out there.
Uh-huh.
Dan Quinn's going to bring the defense. He done pretty much pillaged the Dallas Cowboys. I think this team's going to rise, and the new ownership is going to – I feel they're going to be like, look, these are the keys to the car. I'm going to sign the checks. You go out there and do what you got to do. I think they'll have a big turnaround because, last year they wasn't bad. It's just the offensive line was horrible, but they played tough. And I think Jaden Daniels, I feel he's an upgrade from Sam Howell. Athletic, bigger arm. Watch out for Washington, man.
I like it. Yeah, Zappy, you were kind of, I'm not gonna say high on Washington last year, but like you actually, picked them to win quite a few games last year in the division. They always played Philly tough. They always played Dallas tough. Now they got a young quarterback coming for them. It's just
I appreciate that you didn't say they play us tough because we've been stomping them since the beginning of time.
Yeah, no, there's a reason I didn't say that because it seems like they,
put that much in this division.
you know,
but we kick their ass.
Philly was it not last year, the year before. Philly was undefeated. It was like what, week 12, week 13. Washington beat them.
That was a weird.
So yeah, no, they always played Dallas. They always played Philly tough. No, that's a tough division regardless. But I like the way they're going. It might take them another 2 years really to get that solid playoff team going. But I mean, they have a chance this season. They absolutely have a chance.
Yep.
All right. The Giants.
Well, I guess I won't speak.
No.
I needed to make a quick comment about that 5th round pick, that linebacker out of that big football school known as TU, Jordan McGee getting drafted. That was nice. That's how you know Washington's going to be terrible. They drafted someone from Temple.
Look, I did see
that too, and that pick's coming up. I got him all.
Hey, Ray Rice was pretty good.
Hey, Jordan McGee is a stud. I think it's interesting though. I thought that
fighter. Sorry, go ahead.
That Luke McCaffrey pick was pretty sneaky.
That's what I was going to talk about.
Oh my bad. All right, Zach, you take it. You take it.
I'm glad you did it.
We're going in order. We're talking about the players.
Zap usually gets my fire, so I'm glad you got him back.
We're going in order. These players that you're talking about, they're coming up. I did this in order.
All right, go ahead, Zappy. I'll stop.
No. We were talking about the season, so I thought we were just talking about their whole draft.
Brett was talking about the season.
Yeah, I was talking about the season.
He thought this was a preview show. We're talking about players here.
Yeah. Well, from a player standpoint, I mean, yeah, I have been high on Washington, and I said it was going to come down to one thing, and that was quarterback play. Not to mention all the turmoil that was going on in the front office. But, you bring in Jaden Daniels to go along with the litany of players that Dan Quinn stole from Dallas alone. Mm-hmm. And then the part that pissed me off with them, it wasn't so much the fact that they got Jaden. That was expected. It was who fell to them with their second pick. And to see Jadarian Newton fall to them, and I'm like, oh, my God, you just gave Dan Quinn another toy. Yeah. And if there's one thing with Dan Quinn having these 3 monstrosities of defensive tackles, after we saw what the 49ers did with a defensive tackle, what the Chiefs did to the 49ers with a DT, I mean, this just gave Dan Quinn so much more ammunition to go along with I thought it was an up-and-coming defense already as it is. But when you look at their first picks in their first few rounds, I mean, we're covering rounds 1 through 3. Luke McCaffrey was a 3rd-round pick, and that's the guy that I'm excited to see most in this offense is Luke McCaffrey. I mean, you talk about a guy that he's got so much of the same skill set as his brother, and we're talking about an offense that already features Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson, and now you put Luke McCaffrey in there, and you still have Zach Ertz that's going to sit in the middle and be the quarterback's best friend. Watch out for Washington. I'm saying it right now. This team is going to win 9 or 10 games this year. They are a team that's ready to go, and the Washington was the one team I did not want to see Jaden Daniels go to. Washington has arrived. I'm sorry, guys, but Washington has arrived.
I agree. I didn't want him to go there either because I'm a Giants fan, but I'm an LSU fan. I did not want him to go to Washington, but we all knew he was going to go there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 67-50 Dallas. Big game James, 7 points.
All right. My New York Giants selected a fellow by the name of Malik Neighbors. Second time they go to LSU in exactly a decade. Last time was Odell Beckham Jr. To the dismay of at least half the fan base, they wanted a quarterback.
Yeah.
I personally think that if they didn't get the guy they wanted, that guy's playing for Brett's team, I think they did right here. This is a guy that has masterful footwork and a phenomenal athlete, and I believe that he is already going to come into a situation where he's a day one pro. I do think to a level the media makes a little too much out of Daniel Jones, out of a video that he made a few months earlier.
Daniel
Jones. I mean,
Daniel Jones. Yeah.
I said it off air. I'll say it again. I want this guy to be able to run routes and enhance the ability for this offense to work. And there's a lot of enhancement that needs to go on.
Yeah.
because this offense last year I likened to watching paint dry. It was awful. It was friggin' horrible. The fact that we won 6 games last year is a minor miracle when I really
We could have won more at that. That's the funny thing. And with the garbage we had out there.
No, it was god awful. I mean, you had,
Yeah.
I'm happy that this happened. Brett's going to call me out and be like, "Whoa, your reaction wasn't all that great." The thing was that I was a little surprised, and I'm not going to lie, a little torn. But I do believe that JJ at 6 would have been an irresponsible reach. I do believe that.
Yeah, no, I mean, Richie, I like this pick for you. I think you got, the best receiver on the board. I mean, everybody's going to debate between either him, Marvin Harrison, who's a better receiver. You know what I mean? But I like your pick. I just I'm still not happy with your quarterback situation. Janiel Dones is going to be the one throwing him the ball. You know what I mean? So I'm just not.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I like your draft pick though. I really do. You got the best receiver off the board. You needed that guy in your offense for sure. So
I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Daniel Jones still might not be his last season under center, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you that he's the answer to all our ills. But what pisses me off with this over emotional fan base that we have is that less than a year ago, thank you, sir. Less than a year ago, about a year, this guy was a big contributor and a big reason why we got to the postseason and why we won a game on the road. Yeah. And I don't understand how you could completely just say it's him when you didn't exactly have the 7 blocks of granite. You had more like 4 turnstiles, and you had one All-Pro that was missing for 3/4 of the year.
Yeah.
Oh man, his production, his progressions. This is the progression. Snapping somebody's testicles around your forehead. That's the progression. I'm sorry. I'm not defending him, but nobody's going to tell me that you can fully evaluate this kid when basically for friggin' up until 2022, he didn't even have a modern offensive coordinator. Everybody's crying about Saquon's departure. They built this team around Saquon, and building a team around a running back in the year 2024 got you ugats.
Yeah. It's great to actually hear that coming from a Giants fan, because it gives me faith that there's a Giants fan out there that understands football.
Trust me.
Because I as an Eagles fan, I don't understand why there's so much hatred for Daniel Jones. Like, I'll take Daniel Jones over here as a backup any day.
Like look here, Joe. 7-11 babies. That's what I like.
Look here, Joe. Me, Richie, Guy Q. There's only a handful of us that think this way. Trust me.
Zappy has had quality conversations in the past with the quarterback coach of Daniel Jones. If Zappy wants to talk to me about Daniel Jones's inadequacies, I'll listen.
Yeah.
Because the hell with team affiliation. That dude knows his football.
Yeah, he knows his
shit. I don't care what hat is on his head. If he has something to say about quarterbacks or this guy or you for that matter, I'm going to listen.
Do you know how much we go to war with our fans all the time?
I personally think that Brett wanted McCarthy, but I think he's going to be pleasantly surprised with me.
Joe, I'm going to tell you how bad it was. Our fans are the same ones said that we should have draft Kenny Pickett. I said Kenny Pickett is worse than Daniel Jones. No, it's not.
Yeah, no, I mean, I expected us to draft Made, but I really did want McCarthy though.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised with that. I mean, I don't want to I can't really bash on May. I didn't watch him play all that much, but all I know is that he's coming from the same school Sam Howell came from, and I just and let's not even talk about the quarterback before that, right? So I mean, these North Carolina guys, are they really all that good?
I agree. Exactly. But I think it's unfair to loop in
basketball school, North Carolina. Don't do it.
It's just one of those things, right? Like, you don't draft a quarterback from Alabama.
Nope. I like Joe.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just these things. Like, there's just these things, right? Like, schools don't put out NFL guys.
Thank you.
And it's not like.
I mean, until they do, because certain colleges didn't have the best reps, so to speak, with certain quarterbacks until one or two particular guys busted out. So I understand where you're coming from. I do, but I certainly don't see the same metrics of Hal's game as I do in May's game. Just my opinion.
I think May's more physical.
Mm-hmm.
I think Hal's a better thrower, but I think May is more physical. I think he fits New England more than Hal. I mean, we couldn't say if Hal had no offensive line in front of him.
Oh no question.
And he still lit it up.
That's the same thing. Sam Howell gets jettisoned.
Yeah, I don't understand.
And Daniel Jones still around. And it's like that's the same thing. You have a bunch of I love you said turnstiles. You have a bunch of sieves in front of you, right? And you're blaming it on the quarterback. Like, protect him first, and then let's blame it on the quarterback.
Well, there's two variables with the Jones thing. Number one is nobody foresaw 2022 coming, and number two, they didn't pick up that 5th-year option. But I hear you. I do.
Yeah, we saw what Jones could do. Like I said, not this past season before.
Yeah,
what he can do with a relatively healthy team. They didn't throw a lot of yards, didn't throw a lot of touchdowns, but he was efficient. And with this year, like me and Rich was talking about earlier today, we don't have Saquon, but we got running back by committee. And running back by committee was our best years on the field. We've never won with just one. We never won a championship with just one running back. Now, Rodney Hampton was a different thing, but we had OJ Anderson. Yeah. He has 3 receivers. We have decent tight ends, rebuilt offensive line. Looks like we're going to have a damn good defense. This is his make or break. I'm saying right now, I think he's going to have a good year.
I think he's going
to. But we got Drew Lock. We don't know what Drew Lock's going to do.
One thing I do
he's not going to do it.
Hopefully sit on the bench. Hold a clipboard.
Look, he's the white Geno Smith. We all know that.
All right, here's the way you guys talk about North Carolina quarterbacks, Duke quarterbacks. That same theory applies when Missouri quarterbacks.
Yeah, I'm joking, Zappy.
Wait, you don't want Blaine Gabbert on your team.
Our first Super Bowl went to a place called Moorhead. So you never know.
Yeah, that's right.
Factory. Phil Simms came from there.
No, I'm joking though. We know that Geno Smith and Drew Lock were the same guys in different skin colors. They're the same quarterback.
I will say the Malik Neighbors pick, though, the thing I like the most about it is that the Giants didn't take the first wide receiver. Right. So Malik Neighbors has a chip on his shoulder because he wasn't number 1. And if he doesn't do well, the Giants aren't. It's not like, oh, you picked the wrong wide receiver.
That deep of a anger. His father's not named Marvin Harrison. I mean, it would be hard not to want to take the guy with the name, and not for nothing. The Cardinals were kind of in love with him from the beginning.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Huh? And don't get me started on players with names, because if you want me to go on a Deion Sanders tangent and his spoiled quarterback of a son that's not getting picked in the first round BS. I don't know if you've seen all that stuff, but
he's going to be the number 1 pick.
Oh God, no way.
I think he will, but with Deion, man,
that drives me
nuts. He's going to be the number 1 pick, and probably to the Giants.
I hope not.
No, I hope not.
That ain't happening.
I hope he goes to Dallas. That's a great place for him.
I don't even like the Giants, but he does still believe in Eli. Philadelphia Eagles. Your time here, Mr. Gallagher. Quinyon Mitchell, I think this kid has got the goods personally. Great cover guy, 1/2 of what you're going to do to replace James Bradbury, as well as opposite of him was Slay. You guys did good in the defensive backfield here.
Yeah, I love this pick. I know people were talking about Toledo, small school, blah, blah, blah. Like, he's a shutdown player, and the fact that they were able to then go into the next round and get who I wanted them to get in Cooper DeJean, like that's just I think the Eagles draft pick just the whole draft
because they're kind of like one and the same for what they're doing for your defense. Who does Cooper DeJean remind you of, sir?
Who does he remind me of?
Yeah, like player from the past. There's a couple of guys that he kind of draws my memory of.
Well, there aren't a whole ton of Cooper DeJeans out there starting at quarterback, right? So I mean, I don't know. What?
Man, this is cool. This is like,
Man, Dallas.
Yeah, I'm watching the game too. They're 83-58, 2 minutes left in the third. Big game, 7 points. Five rebounds, 4 rebounds, 7 assists.
I don't like to do this, but that game's over.
That game's over.
Yeah, game's over.
Hey, everyone was saying that about
Thank
the
you.
Lakers, too.
And look, Kyrie only has 9 points, and they still busting them.
All right.
So I was just gonna just being out here in Wisconsin. Like, obviously, you hear a lot about Iowa because Iowa and Wisconsin, they just don't like each other.
Yeah, for sure.
And but this kid, I mean, they've been talking about him for the past like 2-3 years out here, and just shut down corner, pretty quiet, humble, just like he's just a perfect. I don't know. I'm really excited. I mean, I know we're talking about the first pick, but like the second, I'm just excited that we actually have anyone but James Bradbury on the team. Like, let's just be real, right? But these are actually two guys who I feel like you want to root for. It reminds me of like, back when we had like Troy Vincent out there with. I'm trying to think of Bobby Taylor and just like these small guys that just came from these schools.
Because Troy Vincent's a part of the competition committee, and some of his lackluster flag football rules led to the James Bradbury situation that led to that. James Bradbury came through to prevent the Philadelphia Eagles from winning a Super Bowl. We just didn't know it was going to happen while he was a player on the team. Just like Pete Carroll guaranteed a New England Super Bowl.
Right. Sure did.
Yeah. You know what you should do is you should trade up for Eli Apple and add to that extra level of your backup of your secondary.
That esteemed football acumen of one Eli Apple. Oh my!
Look, I'll say this: the Eagles draft picks with Queion Mitchell, I love it. He was hands down the best corner in the draft. It fell perfectly for Philly. That's the crazy part. And now, how lucky they were that it was a heavily offensive draft in the first round. Cooper DeJean is not going to be starting cornerback. He's going to be moved to safety. He has a lot of the physical traits that Adam Archuleta had. And when I look at this Cooper DeJean, he's one guy that I'm a huge fan of. I thought the perfect fit for him, as you guys were talking about Wisconsin, was the Packers. But, he happens to fall right into the Eagles' lap. So,
had him going there.
So that, I like those picks. That's the future of their secondary with Queion being the number one once Slay is gone, and then Cooper DeJean probably will be CJ Gardner-Johnson's replacement in 2 years, maybe sooner. We'll see what happens.
That's a reasonable take.
But I gotta send a shout out to the Eagles for, I saw it last year with Dallas drafting Deuce Vaughn, and his father worked on the staff. But to see the Eagles still be able to draft Jeremiah Trotter, I mean, I thought that was the perfect marriage, and it was one that you wanted to see happen. So like one of those. So I like the fact that they got that, because honestly, I don't think Nakobe Dean is the answer at linebacker for them. I think Jeremiah Trotter will take over him. If Nakobe doesn't do anything in the first 6 weeks, Trotter might be starting by week 10.
And we're going to jump to back to the middle of the draft, but just to give you an idea of what else the Eagles did here.
Yeah, Will Shipley pick.
This was a good,
mind-blowing to me. Just
one of my favorites that I'm pissed off that you guys got of all people, but it just seems to work like that lately. Johnny Wilson. Mm-hmm. I know that Zappy and I spoke off air, and Zappy told me that after a certain height variable, he does have concerns. But what I do like about this dude, he could be one of those, even like from the fantasy football perspective, he could be one of those dudes that vultures touchdowns from your big two because of the fact that he's so friggin' tall. Dylan McMahon, I definitely think that's a project pick, but I also think that this is a kid that if he gets his footwork down and does a little better in pass protection, he's going to be a force. I really like what you guys did, and I'll keep it real here, dude. I hate your team. Absolutely hate your team. I do have a world of respect for your wide receivers coach. He blessed us with his presence and really did an amazing show with us, Mr. Aaron Moorhead. So shout out to him. Awesome football guy. Just an awesome football guy. But
Need to come back on the show.
Howie Roseman and what he has done consistently for your team, nothing short of completely deserving of praise. And that's coming from a guy who literally hates your team's guts. But you got to give credit. You got to give credit where it's due. And Howie has just been amazing that long. We're going to get back to the middle of this just in a moment, just giving the viewers a little look at what else went down. My squad, Theo Johnson, basically we're running business as if Waller's going to hang it up. Tyrone Tracy out of Purdue, I think in time does have the ability to potentially be a bell counter. These are rounds 4 through 7. I didn't hit on 2 and 3. Just kind of giving the viewers a little look here. Zappy's Cowboys. Only thing I don't like what they did, the only thing. Now, granted, they are going to go with the committee approach, but I still wanted to see if they could have got one of the better running backs in this draft. But I still think it's a quality draft. And, at the end of the day, despite an early playoff exit, Dallas is a very talented football team. Anything that pokes off the page for you here, Zach?
Who did you say?
Oh, I thought he froze.
No,
yeah, that's Zappy.
Well, because you jumped to 4 and 7, we haven't talked rounds 1 to 3.
I know, but we don't have a 4-hour show either. I'm gonna go back. That's why I was trying to emphasize talking about the players, but it's okay, buddy. You got a lot of heads here. Not a big deal. We're gonna go back in a second and visit that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that
I guess the one pick that I was not a big fan of was Maurice Liafu. I thought that was a reach. I didn't like the way the draft went, honestly. I really had my eyes set on Graham Barden in the first and returning to the second round to get a Patrick Paul. We traded back. We still got our guy, Tyler Guyton. He is raw, and that's what scares me, but so was Tyron Smith. He only had 12 college starts. So was Tyler Smith coming out. And if there's one thing that I trust in my Dallas Cowboys management is the fact that they can draft offensive linemen. So I have to trust the process with that. But I was very happy that we were able to come back around and get Cooper Beebe, a guy that's going to be moved over to center to help solidify that line. So I was happy with that. But the part that kind of threw me out, the value was great, getting Marshawn Nealon in the second round. But I thought that was the position where you're supposed to get a linebacker or get running back. Obviously, I thought there was only one running back worth taking early, and that being Jonathan Brooks. After that, I think this is a very piss-poor draft class of running backs. Where I don't think they're going to succeed. There's not going to be anyone that's going to have a huge NFL career is the way I see it with this class. So that's why I was not stressing that we didn't take a running back because there was no one that's going to come in and be our bell cow. This class just does not have it. In my eyes, I could be wrong. We'll revisit this in 3 years, and I'm sure I'll be wrong or I'll be right. One of the two. It's 50-50. But when I look at the deeper picks, the one that I really liked was Kalen Carson, a guy that they got him at 156, I think it was, and he's a guy that was on many people's draft boards in the top 80. So the fact that he fell that far, and he's a guy that can come right in and play slot because we already know Trayvon's going to be starting left and Jerome Bland will be on the right side. I like the pick. Ryan Florney, reminds me a lot of Terrell Owens, obviously a poor man's Terrell Owens. We'll call it that way. A big receiver, a guy that can go and get the ball. He'll win a lot of those 50-50 balls. But again, the pick I was not very excited with, even though he is a Notre Dame guy, would be Maurice Liafau. And I was hoping we would have landed Peyton Wilson, actually, or somebody else. But, hopefully he works out. I trust Mike Zimmer. I trust this front office, but we'll see what happens. I would say the one thing that did kind of annoy me is that we didn't take a quarterback. I would have preferred taking a quarterback over a running back, actually, because as of right now, all three of our quarterbacks are free agents after this year.
Yeah.
Best draft day reaction. This man, Tyler Nugent, Minnesota. He's going to be our new safety to replace Xavier McKinney. I truly enjoyed this. We're back in the second round here now. A little bit over. I wanted to make sure that we were able to get as many players coverage here. It's only an hour-long show tonight. I wanted to do my best with that. And, we wanted to cover the NBA today too. But this kid, to me, fits this system. I got to give a shout-out to Christine Furco, who does a New York Giants insider column. Good work on her end. I listened into one of her interviews that she had sent me, a guest spot on a podcast. And what I really liked is that she made a great emphasis on how our current defensive coordinator promotes guys that are bull hawks. And that is a big part of Bowen's system now. No more Wink Martindale. Last year, our Giants, despite having a crappy record, did lead the NFL in takeaways alongside the Baltimore Ravens. So I do think that the defense is definitely going to be the backbone of this team, as it has been in many eras of Giants football. Getting back to some of what Philly also did here, we already got on Cooper DeJean. We spoke a little bit in detail about what these this is an interesting one here.
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Hunt, Houston Christian, pick 94. I think the Eagles got a really good ball player here. It's frustrating, and I keep saying about Howie, but the Eagles just did. Where is their bad pick? Doesn't everybody have one bad pick? Like, where's the bad pick?
Free agency went well. Picks went well. I mean,
well, every pick is a good pick until we see them on the field.
No question.
You know, I guess the question is, like the way I was saying it, what direction would I prefer to see? And I would say the bad pick would have been Maurice, the linebacker, because there was other guys we could have grabbed earlier. For Philly, honestly, I honestly think the bad pick for that one would have been Will Shipley. Because the reason being is we already know that this team does great with a running back approach, and you bring in Saquon Barkley and give him a nice payday. They could have addressed other positions. We know that, and especially in this draft, there was a lot of value taking defensive tackles, defensive ends in the second and third round. And we saw Philly move away from some of their guys, get younger. And not to mention, yes, I know they have an up-and-coming center, but I would have liked to have seen them address the offensive line one more time to better prepare themselves in case Lane Johnson goes down again or something like that, you know. So I would say Will Shipley would be the one, in my opinion, for Philly.
So I was actually glad we were able to get. I actually thought Shipley would have been gone by the time we picked him. The thing that I like about Shipley is the fact that he can catch the football, and that is 100%. And that's one thing that, like, you know, I mean, it's never going to happen. I'd love for Jalen to, like, not leave the pocket sometimes. Because I feel like, but even when he comes outside of the pocket, to have like a quick check down guy, or just have another, you know, like have a running back who can catch a football. That's something that's like the one thing we've really been missing on offense. And I felt like he was the only running back in the draft this year who I actually trust to catch a football.
To rebuttal Zappy, or to give a different reasoning why they want that route, Zappy did make a point about how he feels that this particular running back class, there's a distinct drop-off after the first couple. And I do believe that in that regard, Philly saw that in Shipley, where I must admit that I myself was a little surprised that he was a pickup that late in this draft as well. I honestly thought he was a round 3 guy. Oh, damn.
Before y'all continue, James Harden just watched 2 rebounds fall right in his face and just looked at him fall, and somebody took him down the court. I mean, look right back. I mean, look.
Big game, James. That's
right in his face. He just stood there and looked at the ground.
Let me ask you something real quick.
In depth about this.
Do you think Philly's going to go away from the tush push?
No.
After Kelsey left?
No, that's a cultural thing there.
I love that play, and everybody hates it. It is the easiest thing to stop. And it blew my mind. It took so long for someone to realize all you got to do is dive under the center.
Get under the center.
It's not that it's not that hard to stop it. And, you know, was like Tampa figured it out.
Yeah,
they were the only team that figured it out.
All you need to do is someone just needs to line up in front of the center, see that ball snap, just lay on the ground. That's all you need to do. That's how you stop it. Because the center has no leverage, then
it's almost like the theory of like popping a tire, so to speak. My overall draft grades, I gave my Giants an even B. If there was one thing I could change, it would have been I would have liked to see them trade back to get a little more equity.
Yeah.
I gave the Cowboys a B-. Good players, but felt they could have done better by drafting a running back. They did recently sign Ezekiel Elliott. He's part of a legitimate committee. Washington Commanders with the B+. Only thing that didn't get them an A is my uncertainty if Dan Quinn will be the head coach he was with the Atlanta Falcons. Obviously, that don't even have anything to do with the actual roster. Your Philadelphia Eagles, as much as it pains me to say this, I gave them an A+. Howie Roseman does it again. There's a lot that could be said, but I already said it there.
Oh, you gave him an A+.
Dude, I'll be honest.
The guy is phenomenal at drafting.
I hate
Oh,
to say
yeah,
it.
the only team
I'm
I gave
gonna
an
get on
A+
them.
was Pittsburgh.
Agency, not in the draft. I like what they did.
I'm
I
gonna
do too.
I'm going A Philly. Even for free agency, I'm gonna go A Philly. I'm gonna go B+ on Washington. I want to go A-, because with Dan Quinn, I think although he is the head coach, I think he'll put his head into the defense more and let the OC. I think he'll let what's his name, that knucklehead.
That's the healthiest contribution if you do it that way.
Yeah, I think he'll let the offense do offensive things. He'll call plays, but I think he'll let the offense do offensive thing. I think the Giants, I give us a B. I prefer us to trade back and get some more equity as well. I'm gonna go B with Dallas. I think they got good players, and even though Zeke may not be the running back he was, the one thing about Zeke, he could still take on a linebacker and block. He did that in New England. And I think he can still catch passes out the backfield because he did that in New England. He was pretty successful at it. I think he'll be good for short yardage. He may not be that breakaway where you give him the ball and he hits the hole and goodbye, But I think he's going to bring some value.
Final thought on this young man, and I'm not cutting you. Go ahead.
Oh, man, I know he's past the hour. Dang.
Nah, that's okay. Luke McCaffrey, just 3 sentences. He got pick 100. He might be in the NFL top 100 by year 2 of his career. This kid is very talented.
Hey, it comes from good genes, man.
Good stock. Ed was a hell of a receiver in his own right, former Bronco and Giant.
That's the McCaffrey bloodline.
So I gave Philly an A. I love what they did. Again, the only reason why I didn't give them the A+ is for not addressing certain positions. I gave Washington an A-. I thought they had a phenomenal draft. There's really nothing that you could have changed much. However, possibly, I gave Dallas a B. Again, certain things I would have liked to have been done differently, but the fact that they were able to trade back and still acquire another top 100 pick is what I loved the most about it. The Giants actually gave the lowest score a B-, and that being because I was very adamant about the Giants drafting J.J. McCarthy. And while Malik Neighbors, yes, he's a great pick, it's going to look at something like Malik Neighbors is only as good as your quarterback allows you to be. And I just don't think Daniel Jones is the guy for them. And we're going to be revisiting this in a few years where if JJ is succeeding, which I think he's going to be a successful quarterback in the league, and the Giants are still looking for their guy, that's going to be the biggest drop off for this team. So that's for that reason I gave them a B-.
Joe Gal, I'm going to let you get the last word here. I just want to rebuttal Zap really quickly with that. While I agree with you that J.J. McCarthy does have a legitimate ceiling, I also think that the situation that J.J. McCarthy falls into is a lot different than what he would have got with the New York Giants, because I think J.J. may have gotten run out of town if we didn't address the wide receiver one.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying we couldn't have got another receiver later in the draft, but I'm still a firm believer that you do not just take a position out of team necessity if it's not the guy you want. Joe Gal, you're up.
I'm kind of curious, my grades in general don't differentiate from what anyone has been saying here, right? I think everyone's kind of aligned with, where they think each team did. And, I wanted to pose one question to this group that's actually not part of the NFC East. What everyone's initial reaction was seeing the Falcons draft Penix Jr.
I was shocked.
Yeah.
WTF initially.
I thought it would fall to Dallas, to be honest with you.
I was
Minnesota.
I was very shocked, but I wasn't. For 2 reasons. Now, if there's one thing Minnesota does not have to worry about for the next 10 years, it's a quarterback. And secondly, Kirk Cousins is coming off an ACL injury, and he is a year older. And what if he goes down again? Minnesota does have aspirations to be very competitive in this division. And let's go with the assumption that Kirk goes down again, and then I'm sorry, not Kirk, Sam Darnold goes down, then what do you have? So I'm sorry. Kirk goes down. What do you have behind him? Now you have Michael Penix.
You placed him in Minnesota. You've been used to him being a beast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so
I knew what you were saying. But I was just letting it go.
Gosh. So
You threw me off.
Atlanta, like
I knew what he meant.
Yeah.
Atlanta now doesn't have to get a quarterback for the next 10 years. Michael Penix is going into a nice situation. This is a very Jordan Love type situation. The only thing that sucks about it
you stole my thunder. That's what I wanted to say so bad. But you got me back because I got the Luke McCaffrey thing. So
but no, the thing that sucks about it is Jordan Love was a lot younger when he was drafted. Michael Penix is already 24. Are we really going to be talking about him finally starting at 27 years old with the assumption that Kirk Cousins plays all 4 years? It's very possible that Michael Penix becomes a starter and Kirk becomes trade bait later. I have to look at the breakdown of the contract exactly when they could break away from him. But, yeah, it was a huge shock, especially when you know Dallas Turner and Gerard Verse are sitting right there and you need defense.
Yeah,
or you get Roma Dunze to help Kyle Pitts out and help out that offense with Bijan Robinson, and you give Kirk another weapon. That just it didn't make sense.
Yeah, I was literally mind blown with that. And to the Giant fans that were bitching and moaning that, Penix, what about him? We don't draft lefties. Look at our history. We don't.
He doesn't fit out. He don't fit the offense.
You drafted a lefty.
Do not succeed in the swirling winds of the Meadowland unless if you're playing beer pong with Mr. Bandic and me, and we go with our secondary hand because we're getting a little tired. Until next time, for Mr. Zappy, for Mr. Gallagher, for my man, Mr. Idris Salam, for Brett, myself. Thank you so much for watching. A lot of info that we were trying to make sure that we can get as much in. And these conversations are not going anywhere else. If it wasn't for Maxie just ruining my plans here, we would have been able to breeze through the Knicks. But you know what? I really enjoyed this show.
Through the Knicks?
What's that?
You would have been able to breeze through the Knicks?
Absolutely. Because I was just going to say we took care of business and let's go. Now I'm like over here a little bit torn about
I asked if I could do this show. I was like, man, if I gotta come on and listen to you talk about how you guys beat us, and then that game happened, I was like, yes, I'll be on.
Yeah, the temperature definitely changed, but that's okay.
Don't worry, Joe. We'll be weak. Don't worry, we're gonna bring you back.
They might have
Friday night.
Sounds like I'm ready.
After game 7, we'll go back.
Within the next 72 hours, the New York Knicks are going to win the war. For everybody, thank you so much for hanging out late with us. We are out. Announcements to come for our next show. And by the way, I did pick the Stars to play the Rangers in the Stanley Cup Finals. They coming back from 0-2. My Western Conference
3-2 lead.
NHL playoff predictions are looking mighty good, Mr. Derek Munson. Until next time.